안녕하십니까. 제17회 제주 포럼에 참석해 주신 여러분 반갑습니다. 지금부터 기업의 성장과 사회적 책임을 어떻게 조율할 것인가 세션을 시작하겠습니다. Welcome ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today for How Will You Balance Corporate Growth with Social Responsibility? 본 세션은 동시 통역이 제공되며 통역을 원하시는 분들께서는 자리에 마련되어 있는 통역 수신기를 이용해 주시기 바랍니다. Simultaneous interpretation is available for this session. For service in Korean, set your device on channel 5, for English, channel 6. 한국어 채널은 5번, 영어 채널은 6번입니다. 그러면 세션의 진행을 맡아주실 좌장님을 소개해드리겠습니다. 좌장님은 오종남 인간개발연구원 회장님이십니다. 청와대에서는 정책, 건설, 교통, 산업, 통신, 과학, 재정, 경제 등 4개의 분야에서 대통령 비서관을 지냈으며 제7대 통계청장과 한국인 최초 IMF 상임이사, 새만금위원회 민간위원장, SC 제일은행 이사회 의장 등을 역임하셨습니다. I would like to hand over the stage to Mr. Oh Jong-nam, the President of Human Development Institute. At the Blue House, he served as a secretary to the President in 4 areas: policy, construction and transportation, industrial communication science, and physical and economics. He also served as the 7th head of the National Statistical Office, the first Korean permanent director of the IMF, the private chairman of the 새만금 Committee, and the chairman of the board of directors of SC First Bank. 그러면 이제 좌장님께 마이크를 넘기겠습니다. 좌장님 진행 부탁드립니다.
안녕하세요.
Good morning. Very nice to meet you. My name is Oh Jong-nam. So here at the Jeju Forum, so there are a lot of sessions going simultaneously together. And I want to thank you deeply for coming here other than any sessions to listen about how you will balance corporate growth with social responsibility. Thank you again and welcome.
2500년 전에
About 2,500 years ago, there was a person called Gyeonggong from China asked the Confucianist how we do politics.
이렇게 답을 했습니다.
And the Confucianist said,
군주다워
king should be king-like,
신하다워야 하고
royal servants like,
자식은
fathers should be father-like, sons should be son-like. That was how he explained politics,
자기 위치에서
straightforward. If you're a corporate person, if you're a business person, if you're a professor, you have to make your own way, and that was already answered 2,500 years ago.
사람일까요? 기업
Then, what do entrepreneurs do? Entrepreneurs create jobs, they create goods and services, and they make money, pay for the tax to contribute to the government. That's what entrepreneurs do. As a successful businessman, you make a lot of money. And usually there is a list of the richest people around the globe, but it doesn't mean that it's also the list of people who are well respected. People envy them. Who do you respect as business person? Of course, their duty and job is to make money, running decent corporations. If it's not business person, you have to do a certain social responsibilities. That's our theme today. We are not going to talk about how to make money as a business person. We will discuss how we will balance corporate growth with the social responsibility. It sounds ironic. That means that we should not be businesslike. In order to balance corporate growth with the social responsibility, that's probably the fastest way to become a successful business person. If you go to a humble little restaurant, on the wall, it says, if you offer first, that's service. If you offer something after request, that's just errand for someone. There's now a big hot potato called ESG, Environment, Safety, and Governance. If we do because we have to do, that's just a routine of your work. However, if you volunteer to do something, we should be able to avoid any anti-corruption, and then people will have an image of this company that this company makes money but also try to respect the social responsibility. So today we have 3 speakers today. And these are the people who actually practice this philosophy and theory while being a professional in their field. But on top of that, in addition to each one's profession, while carrying out their duties designed, they still touch upon social responsibilities, and we are going to share great best practices. I would like to tell you the proceeding of the session today. We'll finish earlier than scheduled. I do not spend too much time. If we are supposed to finish at noon, I'll finish 10 minutes before. So for the seamless procedure, I would like to ask the presenters to do their presentation for about 15 minutes. Maybe we'll have a 5-minute Q&A session with each and every one of them. And the session will be wrapped up by my final comments. And if you have any questions from the floor, I am very sorry, but due to our time limit, but instead I asked my presenters to provide some contact information so that anybody on the floor can contact you even after the session, or you can reach them out through the contact information. So please make sure we will have a 15-minute presentation followed by 5-minute Q&A session for each presenter. I'm sure everybody gets it. Let us invite the very first presenter.
얼마에
Our first speaker is Chairman Donghan Yoon of Kolmar, Korea. He was born in Gyeongnam Province, Changyeong City. He made the first cosmetic ODM company in Korea, Kolmar, Korea. In 1990, Kolmar, Korea was founded, and they actually expanded the business to cosmetic, health, functional foods, and pharmaceuticals. Now, they boast an annual sales of 2.5 trillion won as a global health and beauty company.
그런 상황에서도
Even during different situations, he actually strived his big steps. And that was President Yoon as an entrepreneur. And other than that, he is actually teaching the leadership of Admiral Lee Soon-shin. The name is Yeohae, following Admiral Lee's courtesy name. And he's also talking about other historical people as well. And actually, he published a book of who made Admiral E great. So again, let us give Chairman Yoon a big round of applause.
예, 반갑습니다.
Good morning, nice to meet you. Actually, the moderator made me sound like a great person, but I'm just an entrepreneur. I sell things. So I will take this opportunity to give you some points. So time is short, I will be very quick. Company. What is a company? What is an enterprise? Can I have just one answer? What does an enterprise do? Make money, yes.
네, 시간이 없어서
As I said, the time is short. Okay, I'll take that an answer, but that is the least answer I want to hear. When I ask people, they always answer me, you make money. Of course, if we look at the textbook, yes, they say that. So actually, I tell the business professors all the time that enterprise is not about making money. So from Chinese characters, this is how you write that in Chinese character. Actually, the left character means people, and the second character means to stay. So actually, an enterprise means where people stay. So it's about giving jobs to people. So it's not very high level. It is making people work. So that is creating jobs.
사람을 오랫동안
Again, what an enterprise do is to make a lot of people stay for a long time. Then, of course, we can make money. So what is money then? So the athletes gain their medal, gold medal, silver medal, according to the weight they lift. So, of course, money can be calculated by the amount. So if you want to make money, you make an enterprise. No, if you do well, then the money will follow. So all the successful entrepreneurs just say that I did my best and the money followed me.
다는 겁니다.
And that is a joyful way of doing enterprise.
말고 사람
So again, now please stop talking about money and please give your answers. An enterprise is where people stay. So life. So actually the pronunciation is very not very different. It's a life. It may sound life or it may sound people. So more than 70% of what you do in the enterprise is about people. To meet good people and to become a good person. Of course, it was something that I just copied and wrote down. So we talk about people, a person, people. And we often say, actually, that guy does good job, but as a people, I don't know. The Chinese word of people means actually between people, between persons. So how others look at me, how I look at others, that is their external point. Again, between person and person, that makes us people. And again, in Chinese terms, that is the best way to describe people. So again, it's about our perceptions, how we look at other people and how others look at us. So again, it's all about the distance, all about living together. And going back to what I said, if we can say that person is good at work, but not good as a person. Well, not good as a human being. That is the point I wanted to make. And I actually call what I do an organic management. Actually, others say that it is kind of smelly. But when you go to a supermarket, if there's a slight flaw, then these fruits is more expensive because that is organic. So I was thinking, even if there's a little flaw, that is much more precious. So that is the reason why I named this an organic management. We have to follow the principle. The method has to change and make people work autonomously, then we can have happiness. The most important thing, the rules. The rules have to stay. We tend to change rules a lot of time, but no, we should not do that. Like the moderator mentioned in the pub, you never change the rules. If you say you're never going to do something, then you don't. Or you just go out of business. Then it's your way to go. Actually, I was an employee for 20 years then. I made my own company then. I just came up with this tax issue. And there were a lot of people telling me that I had to help them evade the law. Then they will make my business better. But I didn't. So people were thinking that I am doing a stupid thing.
호주머니에 들어가
Because if I do so, then my company cannot grow. So the rules are important. And you never change the rules. Then comes how to do that, the method. We will find for methods. And we have our own methods. And again, we have to do things autonomously. So we talk about Korean leadership. Even if you're offered a good seat, if you don't like it, then you just don't do that. So that is the Korean leadership, the root of Korean leadership. You make people willing to work. And how to do that? That is the leader's job. So then we think about what is a leader's job. I don't think that a leader forces people to do so. A leader should make people follow them. And then you have to look for what they do, what your employees are good at. Then when people meet other people, you ask, how are they? Then the answer is, well, not that good. Because everyone looks at what they themselves can do well. You have to look for what they can do well, but what I cannot. Then you start to see the good point of these people.
그런 사람
So we use a lot of English, of course. And actually, they want to boast that they're a good English speaker. But think about what you cannot do well. And think about what others can do better than you. So when I was in the elementary school, my pictures were never hanged over the wall. So I couldn't draw concrete pictures. So again, look for things that you cannot do and look for others' virtue. And again, look for your method. I call this organic management. The basic is simple: human first, technology next. Technology comes after human. And people with technology often are not good people themselves. Because with only the technology, they can make good money. So this is all they want to focus. And again, these people are not good people. And finally, they're not they don't end as great people. They just end up running small restaurants. So how to make these people better? So there's this saying, if you give one, then you'll get two. Normally we use this phrase like, when you hit once, then you'll get beaten twice. But literally, if you give one, then you'll be given twice. You'll receive twice, or even 10 times. So give one and take 10. So it is all about giving first. Again, give first. To whom? To your employees, to your workers. You give one and you will receive that 10. And that is the starting point of your belief. And then you start believing people. You lose disbelief. Then this is an old saying that heaven doesn't give birth to a powerless man, and the earth does not grow nameless grass. Literally, every man who has given birth by heaven, they can do anything. And every grass has their functions, and every man has their own functions. Actually, we just make people stand in line, but we can just stand together. We can together in circle. You can't just eat only meat. You have to eat some greens together. So again, that is where you start to believe people, that they are capable of doing certain things. And next, find the fruit. Which fruit? A fruit that has already burst. The fruit that has flaws.
한국에서 살아난
Actually, I used to live around the city of Daegu. They used to have a lot of apple trees there. My friend's mother used to give me flawed apples, and she actually told me these are the better fruits. But actually, they used to have no value at all. The fruits with flaws. So for the medium-sized companies, the issue is that even in the medium-sized companies, you pay a lot of wage. You look for a fruit with flaws. You think about why this person didn't go to a good university. Then you can go deeper. You can see flaws, but flawless parts either. So for smaller companies, you look for people with flaws. Because flawless people are the ones who boast. They are arrogant. Again, they are not good people. You don't like good people, right? So I call these people fruit with flaw. And they have the possibility, they have the potential to do better jobs. And when we do our first 3-week training for the new employees, they end all training with shouting, "We are turtle. We are turtle, but we can win rabbits." Normally, turtles cannot win rabbit. But actually, you know the story. Turtles can win over rabbits. So I've been running my company for about 30 years. Our sales is more than 1 trillion won. When I started, there are not a lot of people coming. So I train them and make them believe that they are turtles who can win over rabbits. So that was another point. Again, my time is short, I know. So which one comes first? Efficiency or the personal characters? So normally, our hands are favors efficiency, but the leaders have to favor the personalities. I'll just mention one or two things. Reading. All our employees have to submit 6 reading reports. They cannot get promoted 6 times. Everyone have to submit a 6 book reports. So let's say a book is about 500 pages. 6 books will make like 100 pages. And that'll give about 10 pages a day. And that's not easy, I know. And how to make them read, that is a leader's job. So again, it's a good thing. I don't make them steal, I just make them write their book report. I always tell them when they're applying for an employee, I tell them, you have to submit 6 book reports per year. That is a lot, I know.
예, 네. 곧 마치.
Yes, I will be soon finishing, I know that. And in total, there's been more than 100,000 book reviews, book reports. So that is above 2,000 meters higher than the Baekdu mountain. So if we put everything up, it's about 3,000 meters, right? If we pile every book report up. So again, that was the book reports and volunteering, of course. Our employees have to do their volunteerings. They have to do their volunteer activities. Actually, before the pagoda park, you give a lunch to elderly and you clean around. And you visit elderly people with foods. Our employees help that. And when they return, they become a better man. They become better people. When giving out them food, actually you learn. I go volunteering often also. So volunteering is doing something for yourself. And through that, my company grows further. And our moderator already mentioned, this is the courtesy name of General Admiral Lee Sun-shin. So it's a Yohei Foundation.
중에서
So if an employee wants to become a C-level member of the board, they have to go to this Yohei school. And the fee is about 500,000 won for tax reasons. So this is what they do. They learn this Admiral Lee Sun-shin spirit. Then you can do anything. You can do everything. Who is respected the best in Korea? Number 1, Admiral Lee Sun-shin. And then King Sejong and An Jung-geun. And Admiral Lee Sun-shin is the most respected person. So his lessons are learned in the school. And this is something we will do very briefly. The mugunghwa flower, the national flower of Korea. Actually, they are disappearing.
역사 문화관
Actually, we will open the History and Culture Center of mugunghwa flower. We used to see these flowers in school, but these days, all the mugunghwa flowers are gone. Maybe just next to the toilets you can see some. We call mugunghwa a national flower, but we cannot see them anymore. So for our employees to think about the nation, the Korea. So again, corporate growth and what the company has to do. So other than making money, we have to have social contribution and we have to have some corporate culture. That is the company's social responsibility, I guess. Just giving out money when it rains, when it's a flood, when donating some money, that's not everything. We have to do more. We have to look for what we have to do. Then the employees will follow. Go slow. We say a slow walk of a cow. And you can read here, a slow walk of a cow will make you reach 1,000 miles. Then people ask. So Mr. Yoon, you say a cow, but our leader just say we have to go fast. Then I insist, go slow. If you walk slowly, then you'll reach faster. So it's ironic, but you will reach faster. Constant steps will get you there. You'll become a turtle that wins over a rabbit. Never go back. A cow never goes back. If a cow lies down, then that cow has something bad in its health. The cow even sleeps standing. So, to conclude, this is a famous poem. I swept the yard. A corner of the earth has been cleansed. So, a little bit better. A flower bloomed, and a corner of the earth has become beautiful. I've written a poem, a corner of the earth has lit up. So I love you now because a corner of the earth is getting better and beautiful. So a little corner of the earth, and all together that will make a big change. And that is a driving force of change of my company. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chairman Yoon. And I didn't stop Chairman Yoon after 15 minutes. I thought that what you have taught us was more meaningful than questions. So again, you used all your Q&A sessions. Again, please give Chairman Yoon a big round of applause.
이어서 두 번째
Let me invite the second presenter, Mr. Im Dae-ung, CEO of B&Z Partners. It means beyond net zero. It is related to climate change, and we always talk about net neutrality. EcoFront was his first company in 1990s, and he's providing some advice regarding environment, and now he has been working as advisor of the ESG. Eco and Partners and B&G Partners were the companies he established to work on RE100, carbon neutrality, carbon credit, carbon investment, and lots of environmental related blockchain technologies. UN EPA Finance Initiative is where he is a representative. And he also used to work for the Financial Supervisory Committee. And he also provided a various advisory for financial institutions. Edinburgh University was his alma mater to achieve his master's degree. Let's invite Mr. Im Dae-ung with a big round of applause.
안녕하십니까. 방금 소개받은
Good morning. My name is Im Dae-ung. I just came to Jeju this morning, but I'm in big trouble. It's because I am the second presenter after Honorable Chairman Yoon Dong-han, and I became much more humble. I'm in my 40s, and hopefully you can listen to my presentation as just my little personal anecdotes. After 1990s, for about 28 years, I've been working in the climate change areas. I am from a poor family and I just wanted to make good money, and I majored in business administration. And I believe that the topic of this session is highly related to my personal anecdote. So I went to the university majoring business administration, and then I heard that IT will be a new industry. MIS, e-commerce were the studies that I started to work on therefore. But then I went to the UK for further study, and I realized that Korea doesn't have a lot of companies that dealt with environmental issues, and a lot of investors asked me to recommend some companies, and then they taught me the concept of ESG and climate change. And when I looked at this area, I just realized that I found my interest there. So maybe thought I could have another expertise, which is finance. So finance, business administration, and environmental issues could be my expertise. But then after I started to work on and study more about environmental issues, I realized that how serious it is, and I believe that that will hinder the future of the Mother Earth. Remember the Typhoon Hinnamnor? It left us a great impact, and people like my parents' age were hit hard. So today, my topic is called Beyond ESG, Climate Risk and Opportunity, under the big topic of how will you balance corporate growth with the social responsibilities. If you think about corporate growth, somehow you realize social responsibility is an obstacle, which it doesn't have to be. So today I'll focus on climate change as an important global issue, and everyone is responsible for that. But then by looking at some climate change issues, we should be able to find some solutions for the corporate responsibilities. So as you can see, my topic is Beyond ESG, Climate Risks and Opportunity. I made 38 slides, but I will make it short. According to NASA, CO2 density is going up, which increases the global temperature. Then overall, we had some global change events. Some people lose their houses, their factories are underwater. Then it has become an economic issue as well as the household issue. Then the consumers started to change their trend and tendency and the actions and behaviors. And this is how financial side looked. This is the central bank's network around the globe. Without responding to climate change, GDP will decrease by 25% according to their network. Even if we actively work on carbon neutrality, you can think of some industries and the companies that create a lot of CO2 emissions. They will be in trouble. So that means that with or without our effort, climate change will be deteriorated regardless. Therefore, international banks called the BIS started to work on this, and they released a report called Green Swan. if you think of the Asian financial crisis back in late 1990s, we realized that there are some certain types of risks, like physical risks and implementation risks. And once they grow, insurance companies or banks collapse. So that means that global climate change has changed the entire landscape of the financial institutions. Then I just wanted to start a new area as my expertise, as my third expertise, but then I started to feel a heavy burden. So after the Asian financial crisis, the IMF, International Monetary Fund, warned that we have to reduce great amount of the carbon emissions, otherwise we have to pay a lot of money for the global community. So I was wondering whether we are able to pay for the carbon price and carbon credit. Earlier, that was $125 per ton. But right now, it's about $85 to $90. After Paris Agreement, we had some gloomy stories. I'm sure this table is quite complicated, but this is basically illustrating all kinds of companies like power generating, cement, steel companies affected by carbon pricing. It's inevitable. Social responsibility doesn't mean that you have an option to do it or not. It's inevitable. So we call it carbon pricing. There are lots of places around the globe imposing carbon taxes and carbon prices on service and goods. And for industries with higher risks, they are under evaluation of the CO2 volume per ton, and they are imposed some tax based on that.
온실가스 배출이 되면 대출 안 해줘요. 근데 이게 뭐
If they emit a lot of CO2, they cannot make great money. For the first time in Korea, zero carbon drive was introduced by Shinhan Financial Bank. That means that if you want any loan or mortgage, you should be able to reduce your CO2 emissions. So that means that we have to reduce the negative impact, and then we have to increase any investment for any companies. They are making an effort to reduce carbon emission. Sorry about the wrong number. KB Financial Group last year set their net zero star is their goal. If you reduce carbon emission, as a business, you can lend some money from the bank. You've heard of G20 and G7. We also have some financial ministerial meetings among G20 countries, and they've decided something last year. I mentioned about BIS. From now on, without effort for climate change, banks will go bankrupt. And then Korea, by the financial monetary service, started to take initiative. And it has now become a mandatory actions and requirements. Asset management company, capital company, banks, and insurance companies are now not able to invest for any companies who do not make efforts to reduce CO2 emission. And by the end of this year, it will be mandatory to provide any ESG-related information to talk about their efforts to reduce carbon emissions. So what I want to tell you is that, yes, we do want more social responsibilities and we do want more donation, but after looking at the current status of global climate change, we have to take some actions. But as we are under some new problems, we also have some new opportunities. SK once said they will invest about 67.4 trillion won for their green businesses. Green business have a lot of examples like battery business. So, like POSCO, the steel company, set up the goal of a revenue of a 41 trillion won in their battery businesses by 2030. HSBC, Morgan Stanley set up that they decided to invest about 1,400 trillion Korean won by 2030s. It's a massive money. And there's a net zero financing gap. That means we need 6,000 trillion won to reduce the net zero gap. BlackRock's CEO, Larry Fink, mentioned that over 1,000 unicorn companies will come from climate change related companies rather than search engine or media companies. But here's a problem of greenwashing. ESG is the rhetoric only, and it is not genuine. And some CEOs are fired and dismissed. So greenwash is a little bit difficult, but it is a part of the national strategy called K-taxonomy. Within this green category, they have assigned some technologies and projects, and other than that, they are not green industries. Through taxonomy, you can make a lot of money. Taxonomy has a complicated structure, but CapEx, OpEx, and many other information should be released to the general public. And the companies from next year are forced to release all types of climate change related finance information. So that means that we have to invest some money in green industry or climate change related issues. Otherwise, you are not going to be successful as a business person. So I started my research as a social responsibility, followed by the green business and corporate growth. So at the end of the day, I believe this is where we should go. Investment should go to green businesses rather than remaining in brown, the industries color-coded in brown. Remember, investment is moving towards the green businesses. So we have to move to this part of the green. I believe that will be the new corporate social responsibility. And I also believe that that's how we can balance the corporate growth and social responsibility. So Beyond Nature, Net Zero is the company name that I established. That's our ambition. But we also secure and create social and economic values through the Beyond Net Zero. And I also mentioned about taxonomy that we have to comply with in order to make our businesses grow. And our information releasing is also important in the future. That wraps up my presentation. Thank you. According to Mr. Lim, This is not an easy task, but thank you very much for your presentation. Instead of asking questions, I would like to briefly summarize. Among ESG elements, we have been discussing environment issues, and usually ESG is focused on environment. We lend money, and companies use that money, but first, environmental regulations should be complied with, otherwise there will be penalty imposed. And for the corporate management, sometimes you need loan and you will need some investment. But then here financial institutions kick in. And in the course of transaction of money, we have to utilize that amount to improve climate change issues, and these are the regulations designed. And it will be favorable if we comply with the regulation. Probably you're not familiar with the term taxonomy. Everyone claims that their business tackles climate change. That is why taxonomy came up. This is not related to tax just because it starts with TAX. So in that regard, Mr. Lim had a very efficient and convincing presentation regarding our future direction. So instead of going to the brown side, we should proactively move towards the green side. So Beyond Net Zero implements more of the voluntary effort, and that was his presentation. Let's give him another big round of applause for his wonderful presentation.
세 번째 연사를
Now let me introduce our third presenter, Dr. An Ji-hwan. He's serving as director of Carbon Mineralization Flagship Center at Korea Institute of Geoscience and Mineral Resources. He started working there from 1988. He's now director of his center. And he's also professor at various institutions. He's also president of the Korea Resource Recycling Institute and also deputy director of other institutions as well. Now please welcome Director An Ji-hwan for our third topic. Director An, the floor is yours. So good morning. As introduced, my name is An Ji-hwan. I know my time is very short, and Professor Oh has told me that my time is short, and I've seen many good presentations, and that was truly touching. And the word of that is, when you're told to do so, it's doing errands if you want to do that, and that is service. So actually, that touched my heart deeply. So I was quite heartfelt. I only want to give you that feeling. So let me tell you one thing. So what I do is really to resource, and now that resource is converted to waste, and then I started recycling for the first time in the Korean history. But how to easily put that into the listeners? So I believe that is how I talk to the children. How I talk to the developing countries. So in our body, we fully produce things in our arteries, and when we think of our blood, the blood comes from artery and goes through the veins, and that is our whole body. So Korea became a 10th OECD country, but we only thought about our artery industry. We have zero vein industry. So what we have now, So we had a lot of food for thought. Efficiency versus personality.
생각해야 될 지금 시점.
So what we have to start thinking now is that it's an opportunity. And we have to do things for society. And we have to get two birds in one stone. And actually, I learned a lot from our presenters today. And I want to assure you, 100% of our entrepreneurs have to think about that, about their obligation, their duties. But it is a must. We have one body, and we produced a lot in our arteries. Now we have to have vein industries as well. When you look at European countries, they go unheard. Why US is following the EU? We have to learn that. So today, the waste industry is the circulation system. And actually it generates money. And it gives us reasons. So that is my final words. To dig a little bit deeper. So 100% industry. We talk about some new businesses. Only we have 1.7% of this new industry. So we're just beginning. We have nothing, almost nothing at all. We talk about a sustainable, circulative economy. And the reasoning is the circulation economy, the vein economy. And how much does that count in total? 0.5%. But we all talk about sustainability. So I heard a little things about SK, but I'm a little bit negative. I'm a little bit pessimistic for that. SK is not an exemplary business. They are buying all the incinerators all over Korea. And it is forgetting what they have to do at first. So there are many entrepreneurs, and I look at these entrepreneurs, and again, like I mentioned, look at the globe, look at other countries, and we have a lot more things in other foreign countries as well. Another thing I want to mention, I used to go to developing countries a lot, and I talk to them, and they tell you that if you visit these countries, then you become a patriot. Germany is the strongest country in these issues. Germany has presence all over the world regarding these business. They want to do everything. When we reach the developing countries, Germans have been there already for 10 years in the past. Then, how we can win over them? How make these countries choose us? Sometimes we just give up because they're too strong from Germany. But these countries, look at this. We tell them that our institute is actually 100 years old. We started small, but we're big. And they value our experience, how we became a 10th OECD country. So it's about education and it's about science, the willing for that. So our science technology, our development, our entrepreneurships, they are fond of that. The developing countries are fond of us more than Japan, more than Germany. All these countries love to hear our story. So this is what I wanted to tell you. I will be very brief here. So one of the things I'm talking about, I've heard that this is an international forum, so it's basically in English. The most thing I want to tell you is that we have new energy paradigms. So for example, the Pyeongtaek, if you go to Pyeongtaek, they don't have any drinking water, but they use water to produce electricity. So that time is long gone. So you tell
식량,
So you tell the developing countries that the paradigm has shifted. The food, drinking water is more important. What Premier Xi Jinping has done, they do a lot of investments, but what they give in return from African countries, they get water, they get vegetables. So in the future, we fear China. But what is the point of getting fear for them? Water and this fresh things, fresh agriculture. So again, the preciousness of water, of greens, it is the most important issue of the future. So it is an opportunity. So this is the biggest point. So what I want to tell you, we talk about the Paris Agreement. The COP26 was done last year. We talk about only climate change. I was there in Paris during the agreement. I'm not water majored. I didn't realize that it was climate change and water resource.
중에 가장 큰 게 뭐냐?
What they're talking about, the biggest thing is water. In Korea, water is abundant, so we don't actually feel the scarcity of water. But all these 170 countries, we're talking about 3% of water. Actually, 3% is clear water and 97% is seawater. Of the 3% clear water, only 0.3% is suitable for drinking. So they were talking about mechanisms in Paris. So in developing countries, your toilet waste just goes into the river. And then you pollute these precious 0.5 drinking water. So the speed is faster than the conservation. So we live in one Mother Earth. So it's not about that we're not polluting, they are still polluting. So the more important thing than climate change is water. So all in all, water connects to agriculture. And this is the starting point of the new businesses, what we can do.
지속 가능한
So when we started, we have 17 SDG goals. One thing in common is poverty. So the common thing that we're thinking about is poverty. We think about how to release, how to alleviate poverty. We live in waste. We live from waste. This generation is a waste living generation, so we need vain industries. We collect waste, we collect plastics, waste papers, then we get paid. And this is the most easily put. And even if the cost is high, we can use our science technology. How can we do next generation business, the business for our next generation, our grandchildren? How we can leave them the resource they can use, the water they can drink. So that is the basis of Paris Agreement. So the climate change agreement is done, and one thing I want to point, sustainability is not an easy word. We just spit the word easily. But inside, you have this cradle-to-cradle design. So the cradle is where the baby lies. You shake the cradle, and it used to be cradle to grave, but now we're talking cradle to cradle, which means that we can produce again from the waste. So sustainability, think about what it really means. We have to look at waste, and we have to put the waste into the cradle. So this is the design we all have to have. What we do, we do designs. We need revolutionary science technology. And this is what we do. And if there's no viability, then we cannot call it sustainability. Call that sustainability. But everyone is talking about sustainability. They're doing their best for a sustainable society. Then what are you doing? They don't even understand what sustainability really means. So it's a little bit different story. But again, all our waste have to become resource again. My story, shortly. So when I look at the papers, they tell me that I'm a scientist with a Midas touch, which means I touch the waste and magically it becomes a resource. It's nonsense, right? So what I did is that making a pill capsules, I brought limestone because as being a woman, I didn't like making it black. But all these limestone cost just 2,001. But I did my PhD 30 years ago. We didn't have nanovision back then, but we were then talking about making pill capsules. We didn't have anything like that back there. And they just told me to go back home, just raise children. And I was thinking, okay, maybe I should go home, really, and raise children. Then I got this chance. President Park Tae-jun of POSCO, suddenly they had this limestone crisis because they were new with limestone because they got all metal experts, but they were doing this limestone thing at the beach. So actually there was some shady things going on with the Ministry of Land, and the people in POSCO actually wanted to use this limestone, and they wanted a limestone expert. And then actually, there was a family of these POSCO guys in our institution, and she tell her colleague, actually we have an expert there. An Ji-hwan is expert. I was very desperate. I was in a very desperate situation. I was thinking about rearing children. I'm not a woman of Midas touch. I was just a person with desperation. Then I was there with President Park Tae-jun for some secret product. No patent. We need no patent. No development. They didn't even talking about waste. They were just dumping everything. But they wanted to use these limestone to generate something. So President Park was telling me, I'll just give you 1.5 years. Do anything. So I started doing things. So our lives actually matters. And I was at a cement lab. So my friends were at all the cement factories, all the cement companies. So I just visiting them. And I just did everything for economy. So I needed to achieve this economic feasibility. And in 3 years, I converted 600,000 tons of limestone and converted that to something with a value. Then President Park told me, do something with the stainless sludge. And what about the slab? So for 10 years, I did everything to convert waste to resource. So I became a scientist with a Midas touch. Back then, you didn't have anything about incentives. These days, then I would have been a millionaire. Then the world changed. And the new thing for the 21st century was this circular economy. And this is what I've been done for 10 years. I did that to survive. I just wanted to survive as a scientist. But then it was my 10-year experience. And just like President Park said, just like our moderator said, and Chairman Yoon said, you don't work for money. The money just follows you. I was just thinking about how to do my job, how to survive in the laboratory. After 10 years, it became a 21st century frontier industry. So that's how I started that. And final words. Then we had this kind of crisis, another crisis. So, about this carbon credit. Because waste does not directly connect to money, then we have to have carbon credit, but this CDM and every technology is owned by the US companies. So we don't have this technology. So what we did, I visited Vietnam and I tried to sell our technology, and they were talking about standards. Which is the standards? I just told them, actually, we're not doing it the right way. We couldn't tell that we're not doing it right. And you have to finish. You have to finish. So we started to do this new CDM technology, and again, 10 years. I told the UNFCCC and that we're doing it legally. And actually, if you type that in the neighbor, it's actually enlisted in the UN. So this was my second 10 years. And we got approval, and now we can visit developing countries and tell them you got a lot of waste. You can use our technology. You see it's listed on the UN report. You can do business, we tell them. So this is where we are right now. Then what are left? There's been some niche markets. For example, nuclear waste. In these fields, foreign countries has a lot of technologies. So again, there are things we don't have. So again, if you want to sell things to developing countries, you will fail. Convergence and collaboration is something that we need. We have to do with the government, with the Korean countries. So if you see the paper on Nature magazine, they say that Korea has these kind of technology. And actually, there were a lot of tears behind that. It took 30 years for us to finalize that. Conclusion? Yes, I will finish. So, if you visit developing countries and you don't do sales, you have to tell them what's wrong, what they are doing wrong, what they need. You have to look for that. Then you will not fail. So that is my conclusion. Actually, I learned a lot. So there are a lot of good people who boast things. Professor Paul Kim from Stanford actually told me that person told me a failing experience because he's from a great IT country. And actually, he failed in a developing country. What was the reason for that? They didn't have any time to play. Because it takes 6 hours for them to get clean water. They didn't have any time to play. So, to go developing countries, actually that costs a lot. So you have to think about their culture, you have to think about their needs. So you have to solve the puzzle. And that is what you have to do, is what I want to tell you. Thank you very much. That was Director An Ji-hwan, and you told about your life of recycling. And that was a very good presentation. Thank you very much.
습니다. 그래서 원래 같으면 보시고
The time is almost up, and I just wish that I could invite all the presenters up to the stage to wrap up, but because of our time limit, I would like to solely conclude this session.
울타리는 ESG
The big framework of this session is ESG, and in particular, we plan to focus on E and S. After listening to Chairman Yoon Dong-an, I realized that business should not only focus on making money, but helping human resources. While carrying out corporate social responsibility. And he even had a metaphor of fruits with the flaws. So to summarize his comments, in the course of businesses, there's no one who run businesses with their own money. So sometimes they borrow money from banks or investment. So that means that we have to comply with the rules, and that's what CEO Im Dae-woong mentioned from BNZ Partners. Last, Ms. An touched upon something important. The globe is now, in brief, is creating $80 trillion by 8 billion people. So that means that one person creates about $10,000. That's enough money to live a good life. However, we just want to pursue further benefits, and we are destroying the old earth while we are pretty young. So somehow we actually own the earth. So by utilizing this opportunity, we should be able to carry out genuine ESG policies through recycling to realize a genuine circular economy. That's the summary after listening to Ms. An. Thank you all for your time to be with us in this session. Instead, I would like to offer a group photo with presenters up the stage. If you have some questions from the floor, make sure to contact the presenters after the session. Thank you.